Please sign here. After the courier departed, Arya examined the heavy paper envelope bearing her name in flowing script. Inside was a simple invitation card that read, "Your presence is requested at Stellar Heights tomorrow 2 p.m. Transportation will arrive at 1:30. Dr. Dr., she murmured. Darian Reed? Leo peered over her shoulder. The guy who fired you? What does he want? I have no idea. Arya turned the card over, looking for more information, but found nothing. Maybe he's worried about a lawsuit. Are you going? Arya considered the invitation. Pride urged her to throw it away, but practicality whispered that she couldn't afford to ignore any potential opportunity. Yes, she finally decided. I'm going. The following afternoon, a sleek black car arrived precisely at 1:30. The driver said nothing beyond a courteous greeting, leaving Arya to wonder what awaited her as they drove out of the city and into the wooded hills beyond. After 30 minutes, they turned onto a private road leading to a modern structure of glass and stone, nestled among ancient trees. Stellar Heights was nothing like she'd imagined. Not a corporate office or residential mansion, but something between an observatory and a performance venue. A glass dome crowned the central building, while sweeping architecture created the impression that the structure was reaching toward the sky. The driver escorted her to a side entrance, where a woman in a crisp suit waited. Ms. Novak? Welcome. Mr. Reed is waiting in the central gallery. Arya followed her through corridors lined with astronomical artwork and theatrical memorabilia until they reached a circular room beneath the glass dome. The space was set up like an intimate theater in the round, with a central performance area surrounded by tiered seating. Above, the dome revealed the afternoon sky, though Arya noted the presence of mechanized panels that could presumably close to control lighting. Darian Reed stood at the center of the performance space, his tall figure silhouetted against a beam of sunlight. He turned as she entered, and Arya was struck again by his unusual eyes, silver gray and somehow more luminous than she remembered. Ms. Novak, thank you for coming. His voice carried effortlessly in the acoustically perfect space. Arya maintained a professional demeanor despite the nervous flutter in her chest. Your invitation was intriguing, though I admit I'm confused about why I'm here. Straightforward. I appreciate that. Darian gestured around the space. This is Stellar Heights, my private venue for developing experimental performances. I've followed your career for some time. Your work at the Westridge Experimental Theater was particularly impressive. Arya blinked in surprise. That had been 5 years ago, early in her career. What happened at Lunaris was unfortunate, he continued. I've since learned that the platform failure resulted from a manufacturing defect, not improper inspection. I told you I checked it, Arya said, unable to keep a hint of bitterness from her voice. Yes, you did. For the first time, something like regret crossed his features. I was hasty in my judgment. Arya crossed her arms. Is this an apology, Mr. Reed? It's a job offer. He walked toward her, his movements possessing a strange fluid grace. I need someone with your specific talents to manage this venue and the productions we develop here. Someone who understands both technical precision and artistic vision. You fired me 3 weeks ago, and now I'm hiring you, with considerable improvements to your previous compensation. He named a figure that made Arya's breath catch. Plus private accommodations for you and your brother on the grounds if desired. Arya narrowed her eyes. How do you know about my brother? A slight smile touched Darian's lips. I make it my business to know about potential collaborators. Most employers just check references. I'm not most employers. He gestured toward the dome above. This place is special to me. I need someone exceptional to help bring its potential to life. Arya studied him, trying to read beyond his composed exterior. Why me? Especially after Lunaris. Because in the moment of crisis, you didn't freeze or flee. You acted to protect others at your own expense. His gaze intensified. That reveals character, Ms. Novak, and in my experience, technical skills can be taught, but character is innate. Something in his phrasing struck her as strange, but the opportunity before her was too significant to dismiss. Financial security for herself and Leo, a chance to work in a venue unlike any she'd seen, and the professional redemption she'd thought impossible just hours ago. When would you need my decision? She asked. Now, he replied simply. The position begins immediately. Arya took a deep breath, looking around at the extraordinary space with its perfect sightlines and innovative design. Whatever else Darian Reed might be, his artistic vision was undeniable. "I accept," she said, extending her hand. When his fingers clasped hers, she noticed their unusual warmth despite the cool air of the dome. For just a moment, as sunlight shifted through the glass above them, she could have sworn his skin carried a subtle violet undertone. But then he released her hand, and the impression vanished as quickly as it had formed. "Welcome to Stellar Heights, Ms. Novak," he said. "Rehearsals begin tomorrow." Shadows and light area settled into life at Stellar Heights with surprising ease. The private apartment provided for her and Leo was spacious and modern, nestled in a separate wing of the complex. Leo, initially skeptical, had been won over by the state-of-the-art study space and the observatory's advanced telescope that Mr. Reed had, unexpectedly, given him permission to use. "This place is incredible," Leo had whispered during their first night, staring up at stars visible through the skylight in their living room. "But Reed is intense. Something about him feels different." Arya had nodded, unable to disagree. In the 2 weeks since accepting the position, she'd learned that Darian Reed was as enigmatic as he was brilliant. He appeared primarily in the evenings, preferring to work through the night while sleeping during daylight hours, a schedule he attributed to collaborating with artists across different time zones, the production taking shape under his direction defied conventional classification. Part dance, part technological marvel, part celestial storytelling, it seemed designed to blur the line between terrestrial art and cosmic experience. Most surprising was the lead performer. Zeph Luminara had not only recovered from the Lunaris incident, but had eagerly joined Reed's project. "I hold no ill feelings about what happened," Zeph had assured Arya during their first awkward reunion. "Accidents occur when boundaries are pushed. And this," the performer gestured to the innovative stage setup, "this pushes far beyond what we attempted at Lunaris." Tonight, Arya moved through the venue's shadowy corridors, checking lighting positions for tomorrow's technical rehearsal. Most of the small staff had gone home, leaving the building in that peculiar silence unique to empty theaters, expectant, as if the space itself were holding its breath. She entered the main performance dome to find it illuminated only by starlight streaming through the glass above and a single work light near the control panel. Darian stood at the center of the stage, his attention focused on what appeared to be holographic projections of star systems floating in the air around him. Arya paused in the entrance, reluctant to interrupt. There was something mesmerizing about the way he moved among the celestial images, reaching out occasionally to adjust their positions with a gesture that seemed almost reverential. "You can come in," he said without turning, his voice echoing slightly in the dome. "The Pleiades configuration is almost complete." Arya approached, noting how the starlight seemed to reflect off his skin with unusual brilliance. "It's beautiful," she said honestly. "I've never seen projection technology this precise." Darian made a final adjustment before turning to face her. In the dim light, his eyes seemed to glow with their own inner luminescence. "How are you finding Stellar Heights after these first weeks?" "It's not what I expected," Arya admitted. "Everything here feels both familiar and utterly new." A perceptive observation. He deactivated the star projections with a wave of his hand. "Most people see only the familiar elements and miss the innovations. Is that why you built this place so far from the city? To control who sees it?" Something like appreciation flickered across his features. "Partly, privacy allows for experimentation without premature judgment, but there are other benefits to this location. Minimal light pollution, natural surroundings, distance from distractions." Arya nodded, though she sensed there was more he wasn't saying. "The sky panels for tomorrow's rehearsal are calibrated. We should be able to achieve the nebula effect you described." "Excellent." He moved closer, studying her with that intense gaze that always made her feel as if he could see more than just her physical presence. "You've adapted quickly to our methods here." "I'm good at my job, Mr. Reed," she replied evenly. "Despite what you initially thought." A small smile touched his lips. "I was wrong about you. That happens rarely enough that I find it refreshing." Before she could respond, the dome's lighting system suddenly engaged, bright white lights flooding the space without warning. Darian flinched violently, raising an arm to shield his eyes with a sharp intake of breath that sounded almost like pain. Arya reacted instinctively, rushing to the control panel to dim the lights. "I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened. We're on the night protocol settings." When she turned back, Darian had composed himself, though he still stood in the shadow of a structural column. "A technical glitch," he said dismissively, but Arya noticed he remained in the shadows. "Are you all right? You seem sensitive to bright light. An old injury," he explained, his tone discouraging further questions. "It's why I prefer working at night." Arya nodded, though something about his reaction seemed more significant than a mere sensitivity. She'd noticed other peculiarities as well. How he could navigate perfectly in near darkness, the way his skin sometimes seemed to shift in hue under certain lights, his unusual body temperature. "If you don't mind my asking," she ventured carefully, "what inspired this production? It feels very personal." For a moment she thought he might deflect the question. Instead, he moved slowly back into the dimmed light, his expression softening slightly. "Have you ever felt like you belonged somewhere you've never been?" he asked quietly. "Like you're searching for a home that exists only in some distant memory or dream?" The unexpected vulnerability in his voice caught her off guard. "Yes," she admitted. "After my parents died, before I found my place in theater, I felt adrift, like I was looking for something I couldn't name." Darian nodded, a brief connection passing between them. "This production explores that feeling, the search for belonging, for understanding one's true nature when surrounded by those who see the world differently." Something in the way he spoke made Arya wonder if they were still talking about art or something more personal. Before she could pursue that thought, he straightened, professional demeanor returning. "It's late. You should rest before tomorrow's rehearsal." As she walked back to her apartment beneath a sky brilliant with stars, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that she had glimpsed something rare in their exchange. A moment of genuine connection with a man who seemed determined to keep everyone at a careful distance. Celestial secrets. The weeks leading up to the premiere flew past in a blur of 18-hour days and creative breakthroughs. Arya found herself increasingly drawn into Darian's artistic vision, their collaboration evolving from formal to fluid as they developed a wordless understanding that impressed even the veteran performers. "You two communicate like you've worked together for decades," Zeph observed one evening after a particularly productive rehearsal. "It's rather remarkable." Arya had dismissed the comment but privately acknowledged the unusual connection forming between herself and her enigmatic employer. They had developed a rhythm, anticipating each other's needs and ideas in a way that felt almost telepathic at times. More puzzling were the moments when she'd catch glimpses of something otherworldly about him, his preternatural grace. The way ambient light sometimes revealed subtle violet undertones in his skin, his ability to see perfectly in darkness that left others blind. Each observation added to a growing suspicion that Darian Reed was not exactly what he appeared to be. Tonight, with the premiere just 3 days away, Arya worked late finalizing lighting sequences. The performance dome was empty, the building quiet save for the gentle hum of equipment. She had just saved her final adjustments when she noticed a faint glow emanating from beneath a door she had always found locked, Darian's private observatory at the highest point of the complex. Curiosity overrode professional boundaries. The door was slightly ajar, an invitation she couldn't resist. She climbed the spiral staircase, emerging into a circular room unlike anything she had ever seen. The observatory's dome was open to the night sky, but what captivated her was not the view of stars but what surrounded her on every wall. Technology that seemed impossibly advanced, displays showing star systems she didn't recognize, and at the center, a three-dimensional projection of what appeared to be transmission signals directed toward a distant point in space. "You shouldn't be here." Arya whirled to find Darian standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. But it wasn't his sudden appearance that stole her breath, it was his appearance itself. In the observatory's specialized lighting, there was no disguising the subtle violet luminescence of his skin or the slightly inhuman qualities of his features. "What are you?" she whispered, the question escaping before she could consider its implications. For a long moment, he said nothing, silver eyes studying her with an intensity that seemed to evaluate not just her presence but the very nature of her reaction. Then with a deliberate movement he closed the door behind him. "You've suspected for some time," he said. "Not a question but an observation. I've seen it in your eyes, your careful attention to details others dismiss. Arya held her ground despite the thundering of her heart. You're not human. Not by your definition, no. He moved to the center of the room, gesturing toward the star projection. My home is there, Lyra. What your astronomers call a constellation, but what my people know as the origin of our civilization. You're an alien. The word felt simultaneously absurd and absolutely right. I prefer visitor, he said, the faintest hint of dry humor coloring his tone. I've been on your world for 23 years, along with a small community of others who sought refuge when our atmosphere began to degrade. Arya's mind raced to process this revelation. Stellar Heights isn't just a theater, it's a communication hub, yes, and a place where we can exist without the constant strain of disguising our nature. He gestured to his skin, which now openly displayed its violet undertone. The specialized lighting here allows me to relax the considerable effort of appearing fully human. And Zeph, Darian nodded, is like me, though from a different region of our world. There are 47 of us integrated into your society while maintaining communication with our homeworld. Arya sank into a nearby chair, overwhelmed yet strangely calm. Why tell me this? Why not just dismiss me for trespassing? Because you've proven yourself trustworthy in ways beyond professional competence. He approached slowly, as if giving her time to retreat if she wished. And because I find myself unable to maintain pretense with you. The admission seemed to cost him something, a vulnerability she hadn't expected. Is that why you brought me here? Because you needed someone who could help with your communication efforts? Initially, yes, he acknowledged. Your technical expertise was valuable, and your actions at Lunaris demonstrated both quick thinking and compassion. Qualities we value. But your continued presence has become important for less calculated reasons. The implication hung between them, neither acknowledging nor dismissing the connection that had grown beyond professional boundaries. What happens now? Arya asked softly. That depends on you. His silver eyes held hers. Most humans who learn of our existence react with fear or seek to exploit the knowledge. A few, a precious few, see beyond difference to possibility. Arya considered everything she had witnessed in recent weeks. Not just the technological marvels, but the artistry, the reverence for beauty, the careful attention to human emotion evident in every aspect of the production they were creating together. Your show? She said slowly, realization dawning. It's not just art, it's communication, a message to both worlds. Darian's expression softened with something like hope. It's an invitation to understanding, to see that despite outward differences, the search for connection, for meaning, transcends planetary boundaries. Arya stood, moving toward the star projection that represented his distant home. The enormity of what she had discovered should have terrified her, yet instead she felt a strange sense of recognition, as if some part of her had always known there was more to the universe than humanity's limited perception. Show me, she said simply. Show me your world. And as the night deepened around them, he did exactly that, revealing not just the technical truth of his origins, but the cultural beauty, the philosophical depth, and the cosmic perspective of a civilization that had been watching the stars long before humans had learned to look up in wonder. Across the universe, opening night arrived with the electric anticipation that always precedes groundbreaking art. The exclusive audience, carefully selected cultural influencers, artists, scientists, and patrons, filed into Stellar Heights Dome Theater, murmuring in appreciation at the innovative space. Backstage, Arya moved through final preparations with focused calm, though her inner world had been transformed by the truths she now carried. 3 days had passed since her discovery in the observatory, days filled with revelations that had shifted her understanding of not just Darian and his kind, but of her own place in a much larger universe. Communications are active, Darian said quietly as he joined her in the control area. Tonight he made no effort to disguise his nature from her, the subtle violet luminescence of his skin visible beneath the specialized lighting they had designed together. The transmission will reach home during the climax of Zeph's performance. Arya nodded, understanding now the dual purpose of the production. What the human audience would experience as revolutionary art, Darian's people would receive as both cultural exchange and progress report on their Earth integration. "Everything is ready," she assured him, checking the final lighting sequence. "Though we have a slight complication, Marcus Lee from Lunaris Theater is here." Darian's expression darkened. "Your former colleague? The one responsible for the platform failure?" "The same. Apparently, he's been hired as a technical consultant by the Thorn Media Group. They've been trying to get coverage of Stellar Heights for months." Before Darian could respond, a stagehand approached with an urgent message. The reporter accompanying Marcus was requesting access to the technical booth for background research. "Denied," Darian said firmly. "No unauthorized personnel in restricted areas." The stagehand nodded and hurried away, but Arya felt a sense of unease. "Marcus knows enough about theatrical systems to recognize that some of your technology isn't conventional." A concern for after the performance, Darian decided. "For now, we proceed as planned." As the house lights dimmed, Arya took her position at the main control panel. The show began with Zeph emerging from darkness, body illuminated by what appeared to be internal light, an effect that wasn't entirely theatrical for the extraterrestrial performer. What followed was unlike anything previously seen on Earth, a performance that seamlessly blended dance, light, projected environments, and subtle gravitational manipulation that allowed Zeph to move in ways that seemed to defy physics. The audience sat transfixed as the story unfolded, a cosmic journey about a being searching for connection across vast distances, finding unexpected kinship with those unlike themselves. From her position, Arya could monitor both the human audience's reaction and the transmission data flowing through Darian's communication systems. Two worlds witnessing the same art simultaneously, separated by light years yet connected through this shared experience. During the climactic sequence, as Zeph appeared to transform into pure light, rising toward the open dome and the stars beyond, Arya noticed movement in her peripheral vision. Marcus had somehow accessed the technical corridor behind the control booth and was photographing the advanced equipment. She signaled to security, but it was too late. Marcus had seen enough to recognize that the technology couldn't possibly be of Earth origin. His expression shifted from suspicious curiosity to dawning realization as he looked from the equipment to Darian, whose concentration on the performance had momentarily allowed his disguise to slip, revealing his true appearance. The security team escorted Marcus out discreetly, but the damage was done. Someone had witnessed the truth who might not respond with understanding. Despite this complication, the performance concluded to thunderous applause, the audience rising in unison as Zeph and the ensemble took their bows. Darian joined Arya at the control station, his eyes reflecting both triumph and concern. "He saw," Arya said quietly. "Yes." Darian's expression was grave, but the transmission was successful. The first complete cultural exchange in 23 years. After the audience departed and the performers retired, Darian and Arya met in the now quiet Dome Theater. The night sky visible through the open ceiling seemed both more familiar and more mysterious to Arya, now that she understood who, and what, was looking back. "Marcus will talk," she said, facing the problem directly. "He has connections in the industry and the media. He will be dismissed as seeking attention or revenge for his dismissal from Lunaris," Darian replied, though his tone lacked conviction. "Without evidence, his claims are merely fantastic stories." "And if he has evidence?" Arya asked. "If those photos show something definitively non-human?" Darian was quiet for a moment, starlight casting shadows across his features. "Then my time here may be coming to an end. If our presence becomes known, we have contingency plans, other places we can go." The implications struck Arya with unexpected force, not just the potential exposure of an extraterrestrial presence on Earth, but the personal loss such a departure would represent. In the short time she had known the truth about Darian, their connection had deepened into something neither had fully acknowledged, but both clearly felt. "There must be another way," she insisted, "something beyond simply running or hiding." "What would you suggest?" His silver eyes studied her with genuine curiosity. "Controlled revelation," Arya said, the idea forming as she spoke. "Not through tabloid exposure or scientific dissection, but through art, through experiences that allow humans to connect with the idea of cosmic kinship before confronting the reality." "A bold proposal," Darian observed. My people have always advocated complete secrecy. But your production tonight, it was already testing those waters, wasn't it? Preparing both worlds for the possibility of connection? A smile of appreciation curved his lips. You understand more than I've said aloud. I understand that art can bridge divides that logic and politics cannot, Arya said passionately. What we created here tonight moved people, opened their minds. We could expand on that, create a series of experiences that gradually introduce the concept of extraterrestrial harmony. Darian considered her words, his expression thoughtful. It would require time, resources, and considerable trust in humanity's capacity for acceptance. Some will fear difference, Arya acknowledged, but others will recognize kinship just as I did with you. The admission hung between them, neither attempting to disguise the deeper meaning beneath her words. Darian moved closer, the violet luminescence of his skin more pronounced in the starlight. In 23 years on this planet, I have maintained careful distance from humans, believing true connection impossible across such different origins, he said quietly. You have proven that assumption incorrect. Difference doesn't preclude understanding, Arya replied, or deeper feelings. When he reached for her hand, the warmth of his touch felt both alien and completely right. If we pursue this path you suggest, this gradual revelation through art, there is no certainty of success. We would be pioneering something untested, potentially dangerous. The most meaningful journeys usually are, she said, fingers tightening around his. But we wouldn't be facing it alone. Above them, a meteor streaked across the night sky, a momentary bridge between worlds that seemed to underscore the possibility they were considering. In that moment of cosmic coincidence, something shifted between them. Hesitation giving way to resolve. Professional boundaries dissolving into personal connection. My people have a concept, Darian said softly, translated roughly as stellar harmony, the belief that souls can recognize each other across vast distances, drawn together by forces beyond physical understanding. We have similar ideas, Arya smiled. Soulmates, cosmic connections, destiny. Perhaps these parallel concepts exist across worlds because they reflect a universal truth. His free hand rose to touch her cheek with gentle wonder. That some connections transcend the barriers of difference, of distance, of origins. Their kiss beneath the open dome felt both revolutionary and inevitable. Two beings from different worlds discovering that the language of emotion required no translation. That understanding could bridge even the gap between stars. 3 months later, as Stellar Heights prepared for its second production, this one featuring subtle references to cosmic diversity and the beauty of unexpected connection, Arya stood in Darian's observatory, watching as he calibrated the communication array for the nightly transmission to his homeworld. What did you tell them? She asked. About us, about the plan? Darian's smile held both mischief and tenderness. That I had discovered something unexpected on Earth. That humans possess greater capacity for acceptance than we had believed possible, and that perhaps the time for complete isolation has passed. And their response? Curiosity, caution, and from some a tentative hope. He completed the transmission and turned to her. We have approval to continue our artistic experiment and cultural exchange. Outside, the stars glittered in a winter sky, each point of light now representing not just distant suns but potential civilizations, other beings looking outward with the same questions and hopes that had driven humanity's own cosmic curiosity.